then I went back to Interplay saying, okay, I've been working in the industry for like a year now. Can I have a job? And they said, well, no, because there's some legal things going on with the person you were just working for. But here's the number for a company called Blizzard. Go talk to them.
Okay.
And they're one of our developers. So I went to Blizzard, walked in. There was some people on the floor playing Magic. I dropped off my disc and I went home, and there was an answering machine message on my machine by the time I got home. It said, come back, we want to talk to you. I went back, and I had just given them some spaceship animations and some character animations of a guy playing basketball and shooting a gun and stuff. And it just so happened they were looking for a 3D person, and I got the job on the spot. And I had had my clothes stolen from my laundromat at my apartment the night before or the week before, so I was barefoot and wearing sweats.
Oh man,
And the president of the company was like, "Why are you barefoot and wearing sweats?" And so my clothes got stolen. He gave me $100, said, "You got the job, go buy some clothes."
that's
So
amazing.
they're all like old school GI Joes and shit.
Nice.
Nice.
Okay, I'm down two on the. I got the whole lineup except two. I gotta get.
Well,
I was a late '80s, early '90s kid, so I've got a lot of like the 3.5-inch ones.
Yeah,
Except they don't serve. They got put into storage, and those elastic bands that tied their waists and their bodies together don't last in our winters.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of dismembered and cut in half GI Joes.
yeah. But
nice.
well, I was a '70s kid, and so what happened was when I was like 11 or 12, they went from this to this, and you're like,
Mhm.
oh, it's a ripoff. So I never liked the little GI Joes because it felt like a cheat, you know.
Mm.
Here, wait, check this out. I can actually move my camera now. Let's see. This is my back wall.
Yeah,
There you go. Nice. Yeah, I can't wait to have a proper office again with bookshelves and stuff. I see Nick also has the tall neck.
Oh yeah, the Lego tall neck.
Yeah.
Is that what that one is?
Yeah.
I've also been playing
BD1 from Fallen Order. There's the tall neck.
Nice.
Slave 1. I don't care what Disney ever says. It will forever be Slave
the slave one will always be the slave one. There's no reason for it not to be the slave one.
Mini Falcon. There's a helicarrier right there, and then there's the Super Star Destroyer. The Executor is right behind Commander Cody's face right there.
Nice.
The reason I have Commander Cody is because I'm Cody, and that's my one claim to fame.
Nice. They just put out Lego Horizon Zero Dawn for free on PS Plus. So I've been playing that, and that game is actually really good. Like surprisingly good.
I got it for my son for Christmas last year. He played it a little bit, but he didn't. I wouldn't say he bounced off of it, but like he kind of bounced off Lego games for a little bit. But then, just like about a month ago, he played through the original Zero Dawn for the first time. He loved it, and then he moved on to Forbidden West, and then played it for a hot minute, and then we got back into Marvel Rivals, and now he got into the Square Enix Guardians of the Galaxy game.
Nice.
And now he's in Spider-Man 2 for the third or fourth time. So he'll probably eventually get back to Forbidden West.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, he goes through like windows or like spurts of like a specific game, and then like even though he's gotten like 3 other games in the process or in progress, he's like, I'm gonna bounce back to this one.
Nice. Yeah, I feel
it was fun watching him play Zero Dawn again because Zero Dawn is probably one of my top 5 games of all time. I love Zero Dawn.
It's very good. It is very good. It's very different.
Yeah. It came out at the same time as Breath of the Wild, and honestly, I'll take Zero Dawn over Breath of the Wild any day of the week. That's my hot take.
You think? Oh man, interesting.
I like Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild is so close to being a really great game for me, with the exception of the classic Nintendo thing. If they don't really tap into the narrative that they have, like they've got this really cool narrative that they kind of start in Breath of the Wild, and then they don't really go anywhere with it.
Yeah.
And then you have to play like Age of Calamity, and that's got more of the narrative, but that's made
But
by,
then it's like not canon.
The Dynasty Warriors team, and I'm not a fan of the Dynasty Warriors style games. So sucks to be me.
I feel you. I totally feel you on that.
I petered out at Tears of the Kingdom for a similar thing, where it's just like it's too much of a sandbox, and the narrative isn't strong enough to keep me going. Where it's like the GTA syndrome, the classic GTA like 3, for example, was a similar thing where like I didn't find the GTA 3's narrative strong enough to keep me interested in the game, but Vice City's was, and then San Andreas was. 4 wasn't, and then I have yet to play 5. But a sandbox style game like Breath of the Wild or GTA, for me, I need a narrative to kind of keep me engaged. Otherwise, I'll just peter out.
Yeah, I can feel
I'll
that.
have my fun. I'll blow some stuff up. I'll do something cool, and then I'm like, hey.
I would sit in the sandbox for hours and hours and hours and hours and do no quest and no narrative and just explore and get lost and have fun and explore the limits of the game and break something and just
When I was at Roblox, we had this music world sandbox that we were designing, and I had this whole game system laid out for it where you could either be a producer or a musician or a tourist. It was like supposed to be LA and everything.
Mm.
And I kept doing these game progression passes. Oh, if you're a musician, you start in your garage and you go to a club and you go to the arenas and everything. And if you're a promoter, then all this stuff. And then all any of the Roblox kids would want to do is just go in to hang out and not do anything.
Yep.
And it just started beating my head against the wall for like a year, the better part of a year. I'm like, I'm doing all these cool games and nobody's doing anything. They're just sitting and talking. It was just like, okay, well, I'll give up.
That's funny.
yeah. I'm definitely a social player.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a social player. It just depends on the mechanics itself. I think Tears of the Kingdom hooked me so hard because I like to build stuff, and it felt like you were playing with Legos in an open world, and I loved the elevation aspect as well. So like I really liked that feeling of actually being able to go wherever the heck I wanted to go. So
Tears of the Kingdom. Super
I don't know if I
fun.
want Cody playing the game while I'm going because he's losing every single goddamn
is he
game.
is he still losing rolls?
Just
Losing
lost
every
one,
roll.
yeah.
All right. Well, why don't we just dive into it? So, welcome back everybody to the Aether Hour. This time we are joined by Duane, who is our creative director, and we are joined again by Cody, who's our producer, Gina, who's our community manager, and I am the marketing artist. I had to think about what I do for a second. And Duane is going to be talking about some fun stories. He's been on the project for quite a while, so I'm sure he has some fun things to tell us. And he has a very important role at our studio, kind of overseeing he's overseeing quite a lot. So it'll be cool to pick his brain and see sort of like how the sausage is made, kind of thing. I want to mention first that we have been doing these in our Discord every single week, every Wednesday. So feel free to hop in. The link is going to be in the description on the YouTube video. And just join us. We hang out and we just chat games and chat, Aether and Iron. So why don't we kind of dive right into it, Duane, with like, what does a creative director do?
Well, it depends on the creative director, but the best analogy I ever heard is basically you're a traffic cop for ideas.
Okay.
People put ideas in from the left or the right, and you say, okay, no to that one, yes to that one, you can go ahead. And you're really a facilitator of everybody's creativity. So, and you're there to kind of keep the parameters of the game in place, so you know what it is and what it's not. And you really are kind of try to foster the creativity of everybody else. Surround yourself with really good people, and then you just kick back and take the credit for everybody else's hard work. But there's a little bit of truth to that, but it's really, just keeping the overall high level vision of the game, but across all disciplines. So like if the art director's involved in the art and responsible for the art, I'm responsible for the art, the narrative, the music, the VO, and all of that. So it's a much broader set of responsibilities. So I'm not in the trenches necessarily as much on each of those all the time, but I'm very much sort of just trying to keep everybody pointed in the same direction overall.
Yeah, it's almost like Cody's job is more management of people's time, and yours is more management of like the creative aspect, the creative cohesion of the game.
Yeah, I tell people what to do, and Cody makes sure that they get it done.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
And
they maintain
telling
the
people
vision.
Yeah, it's not really telling people what to do. It's just like I said, it's like, I mean, anybody, a tester could come up with an idea and we're like, that's a great idea. That's going in, as long as it's feasible, as long as it's an idea that within time, budget constraints in the real world if it's a good idea, then let's do what we can to get it in there.
And you've been on this project for like a really long time at this point. Like how do you feel like things have kind of changed over time? And like I know you've been through the multiple iterations of this project as well.
When I first came here, back in the dinosaur days, they we didn't even really know what the game was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like it originally was going to be Into the Breach with 1930s cars.
Okay.
Like that was, and obviously now it's way beyond that. So we're we were in really a fishing expedition sort of mode before.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I did leave for 2 years and I came back, happily, because I didn't want to leave, or I left, but it was a very difficult decision. And then I came back and they welcomed me back, and it was great. But the game underwent massive changes. Like we used to have two different protagonists. The story was completely different. It was the same setting, but a completely different story. And we never could land the car combat about what it was supposed to be and how it was supposed to be visualized and how it was supposed to work. So it's really gone through a lot of iterations of like just fundamentally what is the game. Because it's analogous to certain other games that are out there. You can point to a little bit of Sleeper, you can point to a little bit of Sovereign Syndicate, but it's kind of its own thing. It's like, oh, we got some XCOM stuff over here, and we've got some Citizen Sleeper over here. So it's coming up with something that's more or less unique is very, very challenging, rather than just some other companies I've worked at very successfully would just take a game and say, let's make that but better. And we're not doing that here. We're sort of like, let's take a piece of this, a piece of that, a piece of that. So it's been a lot more challenging to make a cohesive game. I think we finally got there. It was just a lot more iteration than it maybe could have been.
So when you came back, was it already kind of like in the infancy of what it is now, or was that still kind of like, was it still building?
It was much more. It was much more in the infancy of where it is now. But the funny thing is, part of the reason I think we might be a little bit longer in the tooth than we would have been is I left. They brought in a new creative director. He threw away everything I had done.
Gotcha.
And then he left, and I came back, and I threw away everything he had done.
Gotcha.
Sorry. So we're really kind of we've had a lot of, I won't say false starts, but a lot of building blocks that have gotten us to this point. But we were kind of in at least a direction of we've got the RPG dialogue, and the car combat was more, at least even just getting the POV of the car combat was a challenge, and finally having that scrolling background in the isometric view, that was just barely here when I came back, as opposed to some other things where we were looking at we went through every possible iteration once or twice about how car combat was supposed to work, and finally I think we landed on something that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was interesting. We had James and Dean on, was that 2 weeks ago now? So they told us a lot about like how that system was made. Like it was almost like putting things, like cutting piece of paper out sort of things and moving things around and really trying to figure out like how to make this work on a very generic scale, and then keep building the systems from there. So yeah, it's really crazy to see how this thing has evolved. And I came on extremely late in the life cycle, so it's like I know it as it is now. So I'm sure seeing this thing kind of evolve over time was really cool. What can you tell us about like basically like managing a bunch of different teams? Like there's been some cool talent that has come in, like Christopher Tin, for example, that you've gotten to work with. You're working with a lot of cool voiceover actors. Did you kind of have a hand in bringing some of those people in, or making those decisions to work with some of these creators? Like how did those connections happen?
Well, the Chris Tin thing was already underway way back before I even got here the first time. So
Gotcha.
that was baked into the cake from the get-go. It was just a lot of negotiation and making it actually happen. And once we were on board with him, it was like so easy to work with him. It's so cool.
Nice.
And he brought in Alex, and working with both of them has been a pleasure. And it's really cool, somebody of his caliber who's so like just easy to work with. And
like he knows, he kind of already knows the assignment, right? in a
He knows the
sense.
assignment, but it's like he listens. He's not like, I'm going to do
Mm,
what I do. And it's like I say, well, I was thinking this and I like this. And he's very collaborative. And him and Alex, and they're like, yeah, let's try this. And then there's no, there was, I don't think there was any butting of heads with the music at all, which
that's
has
amazing.
been awesome because they get, when you kind of know what you want, it's a lot easier for people to come in, and there is some really cool noir music out there from everything from the 30s through the 70s of these different kind of genres of film noir over time that we were able to draw from, and I think it was really exciting for them. As far as the art goes, beyond hiring the artists, going through
Hmm.
and looking at portfolios and stuff like that, I've got a friend named Fang who runs a school over in Singapore or
Oh, Feng Zhu.
yeah, Feng
We were
Zhu.
just talking about him a couple episodes
Yeah.
ago as well.
Yeah,
You know him
he
personally?
yeah, he's been a friend of mine for like 20 years,
That's
and
amazing.
it's really well, 20, 25 years. Yeah,
I literally
and
grew
it's
up
weird.
like watching him. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
he was my initial, art inspiration on the internet.
and that's really weird for me because to me, he's the kid in the backwards baseball hat sitting in the corner drawing pictures. Like I don't know him as Feng Zhu, famous
Yeah,
guy.
yeah. That's so
He was
cool.
kind of a snarky kid that I'm friends with, and um, but he's my go-to. Like, oh shit, we need artists. Hey, Fang, got anybody? And he'll like
Mm.
pass us people, and so we got Chloe through him, and
Oh, cool.
yeah, and so we had Brandon, who has since left, but he was stunningly, amazingly good artist, and the backbone of the look of this game is kind of built on the stuff that he did years
Mm.
ago. So we've got the Fang connection with the art, and for the writing, it's just kind of sorting through people and getting personality, writing style, and all of that, and making sure we did have a core writing team here when I came back. We've since added to that. Um, so
Yeah, I
uh,
think something interesting you can maybe talk on, because I'm sure a lot of people that watch stuff like this are interested in game dev. And do you have any advice as someone that's looking, you've hired people before, helped hire people before, like what are the types of qualities you look in for artists or for writers or whatever?
um, you can have a brilliant artist who's the wrong fit,
Mm.
and or writer. You have a
Hmm.
brilliant creator, you have a brilliant dev who's the wrong fit.
Hmm.
I've been the wrong fit at some companies I've been at, and I've been the right fit at others. And it's you look for personality, and you look for talent, and you look for alignment in kind of what they do. And there's some artists that can do anything. They
Hmm.
don't have a style per se, and then there's other artists who have a very definitive style. And there's been a couple of artists I've worked with who have been like, I want our game to look like that.
Hmm.
And and then other times like we just need to get somebody who's super talented and who's more of a journeyman who can kind of make what we already have and just do more of that and hit and match the style. Um, so looking for and same thing with writing. It's like, is their writing smart? Is it efficient? Is it descriptive? Is it evocative? So and can they hit those noir beats that we need to hit? We've got a very poetic, heightened style of narrative and dialogue, and we needed people who could match that and do it. And again, it's just a fit. You've got some excellent writers who couldn't write in this vein, but they can write in other genres.
Yeah.
So it's really, really about uh, um, are they good and are they the right kind of good?
Yeah, and what's nice nowadays is there's so many different genres and styles of games. So I feel like there is a lot of opportunity for different types of people to work at different places, which is pretty cool. Cause I think like even I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, it was kind of like a lot more double A, a lot more triple a lot more like everything was really especially in like the PS3 days, like really everything's really realistic and really serious,
Yeah.
right? So they wanted those highly skilled like photo bashy kind of artists, for example.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, it's been challenging. I mean, I've been making games since 1994, and
mhm.
it's like you have say 93, I think.
Wow.
Um, and you see the evolution. And back in the day, there were no schools. There was
Mhm.
nothing for this. It was just like you sat down at home and you drew some pictures and you maybe got a program and did some art, and you put it out there, and everybody looked kind of different. So it was kind of wrangling all those different styles, and it was also a lot harder to find. You would get maybe 20 out of every 20 art applicants, you would have one that was worth talking to, and one out of every 40 would be like really blow you away. And now it's like you get so many just stunningly good, because there's a pipeline. There's the art school pipeline, and there's a lot more people who have been doing this for a long time. So it's just been like really interesting watching the evolution of the industry and how those different styles evolve through time. Like I've got a very specific style that isn't necessarily a match for all the places I work, but luckily I'm the art director, so I don't have to draw anything.
You just need to give good advice and know how to do paint
Good eye,
overs.
it's exactly. You do a few paint overs and kind of, as long as you know what you want it to look like, it doesn't have to be your style, but you could point to something and say that, or you get an artist that you're working with. Like I said, Randon was kind of the backbone of a lot of what we're doing here. So we just take a bunch of his stuff and give it to the artist and say, make it look like that. And they do, because they're good and they know what they're doing.
So, first of all, I want to say that I think you're probably the most veteran person on our team in terms of like game dev experience, which is really cool. How did you get into? Sorry, I'm getting the gray too. So
yeah, no. Your hair was brown when you got hired here last week.
Yeah, right. So how did you get into game dev?
I literally, my brother, I went over to visit him. He was living in Burbank. I was living in Orange County. It was about 92. It was actually 92 or 93. I was just getting done with college. And I went over, visited him, and he was like, hey, I got this computer, check it out. And he was doing this animation of a blue whale swimming through the water.
Okay.
In 3D. And it was like, you didn't know what 3D was. And this was before Jurassic Park even came out. So
wow.
or it was right around the same time. And what he had done was he got in this architectural program called 3D Studio and was creating characters with it, which you didn't do at that time.
Yeah.
And he got the attention of the company that made the software and got his work onto their publicity materials and stuff. And I was like, oh, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I don't know what this is, but cool. And then I went off and minded my own business. And then a few months later, he called and said, I'm upgrading my computer. Do you want my old one? I was like, sure. I was still in college at that time. I was working a 40-hour-a-week job. I was taking 21 units of college at Long Beach University as a writing major. And I got his computer. And so I would work from 9 to 5, and then I would go to night school until 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And then I would go home and spend until 2 or 3 in the morning just learning this, because he still had the software on there. I learned 3D Studio, and I did some animations of some characters.
How did you know how to use it? Like,
I asked him a lot of questions.
Whose YouTube tutorials did you watch, Duane?
There was no YouTube, didn't exist back then. So, but really, it was there were little users groups, like 3D Studio users groups in Orange County. You would go on the weekends, and then I had my brother to fall back on. My brother, right around that time, was going to found Blur Studios, or he did found Blur Studios.
Wow, okay.
Animation house to do Love, Death, and Robots, and they've done a million things. And so through an old friend, I got my work over to Interplay. And they were like, yeah, this isn't very good, quite frankly. But then they found out I had only known how to turn a computer on for 3 months. And they were like, oh, for 3 months, this is really good. Come back in 6 months.
Okay.
And I actually went and got a job at another small developer who was doing Atari Jaguar sports games. And I was the 3D department, doing little intro animations and doing backgrounds and stuff. And then I went back to Interplay saying, okay, I've been working in the industry for like a year now. Can I have a job? And they said, well, no, because there's some legal things going on with the person you were just working for. But here's the number for a company called Blizzard. Go talk to them.
Okay.
And they're one of our developers. So I went to Blizzard, walked in. There was some people on the floor playing Magic. I dropped off my disc and I went home, and there was an answering machine message on my machine by the time I got home. It said, come back, we want to talk to you. I went back and I had just given them some spaceship animations and some character animations of a guy playing basketball and shooting a gun and stuff. And it just so happened they were looking for a 3D person, and I got the job on the spot. And I had my clothes stolen from my laundromat at my apartment the night before or the week before, so I was barefoot and wearing sweats.
Oh man,
And the president of the company was like, "Why are you barefoot and wearing sweats?" And so my clothes got stolen. He gave me $100, said, "You got the job, go buy some clothes."
that's amazing.
So that's how I
It's a
got my
cool story.
real
That is
job.
really
Yeah.
cool. So, what was like the first project you worked on with them?
Warcraft 1, Orcs and Humans,
Nice.
and had to just finish up some. They already had a 3D guy, and he was kind of mad at me for coming in because it was his gig, but they needed him for other things. So I came in and kind of took over a little bit on that element, and then we just did some stuff, and then Warcraft 2 came along, and then did more for that, obviously, and I got crazy stories about Warcraft 2 and why it ended up being the way it looked. It was supposed to look like StarCraft, and then it looked like Warcraft, and then StarCraft ended up looking like StarCraft after StarCraft looked like Warcraft. It was a very confusing time. But yeah, so
Nice. That's very interesting. So how do we get to Seismic Squirrel?
we had to go through a long, convoluted journey of so I was at Blizzard for about 7 years, and then I
Okay.
left, and then I went to Blur,
Okay.
which my brother's company, was there for a couple of years, and then I went to Activision, where I was the cinematics director on True Crime 2, New York City, and I got to work with voice acting or voice directing wise. I got to direct like Lawrence Fishburne, Mickey Rourke, and all sorts of like
Nice.
heavy people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stories about that. And then Christopher Walken, Lawrence Fishburne, Mickey Rourke, and I was there for a few years, and then I left and I decided I wanted to do movies and visual effects, and I made a movie, and it got into some film festivals, and I got to fly to George Lucas's ranch and spend some time there and
That's
everything.
sick.
That was
Is
very,
is
very
this a
cool.
movie that we can like find
Oh,
somewhere?
it is, but it's not very good. So
Okay.
I'll just,
Okay. We'll
and
pass on that.
then, well, I mean, it was good enough to like, it was good enough, but there was some, whatever.
Sure.
Anyway, so
Okay.
I made my money back eventually, but yeah.
Nice.
So it also turned me off from the film industry quite a bit. So and then I got back into games, but I was just kind of like feeling my way back in a little bit, and I started a game company with some old Activision and EA and Sony people, and we circled around for a while trying to get our own project off the ground, and then Roblox came calling, and
Okay.
they said, "We're going to do these concerts. We're going to do this Lil Nas X concert." And we did that, and we did the Chainsmokers, and we did 21 Pilots, and I directed all of these concerts for Roblox with my own company.
Mm.
And then um, I well, actually, a couple of those were with my company, and then I went to Seismic after my company folded, and then Roblox pulled me back in to do more concerts with another company, and then
Gotcha.
I came back to Seismic. So I left Seismic because I really liked doing those Roblox concerts,
Mm.
and there was just a lot of opportunity there. But then maybe outside factors soured me on it after 2 years, and then when I saw Seismic was looking for a creative director, I just called them up, and they welcomed me back with open arms, which is fantastic.
That's awesome. So in this long history in game dev, like how do you feel the industry has sort of changed in terms of like development?
Well, the fact that you used to have to write your own engines to get games
That's
to
one
work,
thing.
as opposed to having Unity or all these other things available, that was a big one. So you're less reliant on, it's less tech reliant now in some ways, and things have been sort of put into buckets.
Hmm.
And then the consolidation of a lot of the AAA studios, like even when I worked at AAA, when I was working at Activision, it was still kind of free in a way, a little bit. And at Blizzard, it was very free. Like for the, for the end of Diablo, me and one other guy just sat down and said, "Hey, let's have the hero kill themselves at the end of Diablo." Cool, haha. We giggled, and then we went in on the weekend and we did 3 animations of the 3 different characters sticking a soul stone in their head. And it was like, game's coming out in 2 weeks, too late to change it, haha. And that ended up being the whole basis for the following sequel. So you could just kind of do shit like that and get away with it. And I mean, yeah, they were mad at us, but they're just went with it because, like I said, there was nothing you could do. Or again with Diablo, like the logo on the title screen, we literally cut the letters out of wood, soaked them in gasoline, put them in the parking lot, and filmed from the rooftop and lit them on fire. So like you just kind of were much more. There was no fire plugins. There was no way to generate fire in computers without that. So we were a lot more improvisation and a lot more kind of you just had to be a little bit more creative in the way you approach things. But now with indie games and like what we're doing at Seismic and stuff, that's kind of gone back to that. The AAA is all like, we're gonna do franchise, we're gonna do this, we're gonna spend hundreds of millions of dollars and play it safe and all that. Whereas with Seismic, we're back
action
to
game.
Yeah, but we're back to kind of that indie spirit, or that spirit that AAA or AA or whatever it was called back then. We're back to with Seismic. We're able to do what we want. So I'm super appreciative to be here because we're in a very unique spot in the industry right now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it is really cool to just be able to, if someone on the team has an idea, obviously it's got to go through a couple people, but it almost feels like no idea is a dumb idea. And I think that's how we've been able to do a lot of cool stuff, and make a lot of cool, unique things like this crazy car combat system.
Well, it's like you get like kind of, there's no dumb ideas, but there's ideas that aren't feasible maybe or aren't practical, and so but what you can do with those is you either say, and it's that collaborative thing where somebody comes with an idea and it's like, that's not going to work, but you say yes, but that triggers another idea, and you go off and you do make something that works out of that seed of something, or you take that idea and you put it on the shelf and say DLC or sequel or whatever, when we're able to have to revisit that later on.
One of the things you mentioned was working with these high profile voice actors, and we kind of touched on it. Like, our game is fully voice acted, which is nuts because I know there's like, what is there, like 250,000 words?
I think we're up to about 350,000.
Oh man, that's crazy. So you've been sitting in with these VO sessions and kind of working with the voice actors. So what is that experience like? Just like, I haven't sat in on one, so I don't even know how that goes.
I won't let anybody sit in. I've been asked, like, oh, can we sit in? Like, no. And the main reason for that is because I don't want the actors getting feedback from too many sources at once. It's like one person has to tell them what to do, and then the others, I don't want to be second guessing myself all the time. And if the person who wrote it is sitting across from me, I'll be always like tapping over and checking, and then it'll slow it down. So the writers hate me for not letting them in, but that's how it is. But the voice acting, it's my favorite part of the process so far. My two favorite parts are brainstorming with the writers when you've got a fresh slate and just spitballing ideas, and the second one is when those ideas have germinated and come to fruition, and you take them to the voice actors, and they completely make it come alive. I was talking to Tyler yesterday, and he said it was a phrase, it's totally true, is good acting can make bad writing great, and bad acting can make good writing terrible. So it's like, if we got good writing and good acting, then we're on the golden path. But having these people like come to life, and I can't imagine these characters not being voiced by who's voicing them right now. Like, Cody's got Ellie talking in the background right now, and she's just so like, that's her. It's just, So.
That's amazing. So, like, what are you looking for when you're directing them?
Believability, verisimilitude. We don't want it to be. I mean, we do have a little bit of heightened, exaggerated performance in some ways, but I want everything to be low key enough to sound
Mm.
like it could be in a movie,
Okay.
or to be in real life. If I had my druthers, the actors would be in a room playing the scene with one
Together.
mic and together. That's not the way it works,
Hmm.
for a lot of reasons, but I'm trying to get them to feel like that. So it's like really, again, with the actors, just like with the artists and the writers, it's like keeping the parameters of going. This is the scene, this is the context, and the delivery needs to match what the intention is of the character. So we're really looking for, uh, a certain amount of gravitas of like, take this seriously. We're not winking at the audience. We're building a
Hmm.
world that's its own thing, and we really want the characters to feel like real people. And I think with the casting that we've been doing, which everybody has for the most part, everybody, like the writers who wrote the characters and stuff, they do get a say in who is cast.
Mm.
Ultimately, the decision is up to me and a couple of other people, but they wrote the characters, so they probably have a pretty good idea what they should sound like.
Yeah.
And but it's like getting performances that you just believe. They sell the idea, and don't feel forced. They don't feel fake, and they don't feel flat. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, it's fun. I've gotten to see some of the clips that have rolled in, and it looks like it's a fun time working with them. So
Yeah. Well, it's weird because I've directed a couple of movies, and it's like I give physical direction a lot of times to the
mhm.
voice actors. I know they're just sitting there behind a mic, but it's like, get up and pretend or not pretend. I'll just say, like, lean over and elbow the person you're talking to in the
Mhm.
side and whisper in their ear, and do, it's physical direction. And that, I think, helps the actors get in the space so they're not just sitting stiff backed in a chair talking into a mic, but they're actually playing the scene.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I definitely, playing the game, it definitely comes across like they're doing these motions, and their voices are changing and stuff like that. It's been nice to hear the game finally like really come to life.
It
So
does bring it to life in a huge way. It's between the music and the voice acting and the sound,
the
how
music
sound effects.
too.
It's great
Yeah.
sounding.
Yeah. I was just saying to you guys before the call, I got to play like a more modern version, a more modern build of the game for the first time in a while, and hearing all of the music and the nice art that's come in, and
Yeah,
there's so many pieces in game dev, and this was something James was talking about last time or 2 weeks ago or whatever, where it's like you're kind of like looking at it as a prototype for such a long time, and then when the pieces come together and you can kind of put them in their little places, it's such a nice feeling to finally get to play that thing that you've had in your head
yeah,
for like a long time, you know.
yeah. It is the greatest feeling in the world to creatively, and yeah, you get like, it was just an idea in your head and now it's real. And
Hmm.
that's whether it comes from painting a painting or making a piece of music or doing a game. The game is just such a more massive undertaking than a personal project,
Yeah.
that seeing it come together is that much more satisfying, because it's like you feel so, I won't say disconnected, but so much of the time you're so like just tunnel visioned on one little thing, and you forget all this other stuff. And then when you finally see it come together, it's kind of two reactions. One is, it's awesome, and I can't believe that I completely forgot about this part of it, or that part of it.
Hmm.
And then at other times, it's like, man, we spent like 3 months doing this thing, and it just blips on screen and it's gone. Like there's that other reaction, because it's like, it's just, you blink and it's gone. So
Yeah, yeah, that's the nature of game dev, I guess. Um, One of the things that was interesting to hear from James's perspective was like they're all the way in Australia, our co-developers, Chaos Theory. So I'm curious from your perspective, and just like what were strategies you used, I guess, to work with our developers who's halfway across the world. Like, how did you go about managing that creatively?
uh, I wouldn't even say that we're managing that creatively. It's just, we're sort of like handling it. It's very hard because they'll show. it's weird because depending on the time of year, if we're on daylight savings or they're on daylight savings,
Mhm.
or standard, we get more sync time. Like they'll show
Mm.
up at half the year, they get there at 1 o'clock in the afternoon our time,
Mhm.
but half the year they're not there until like 3 o'clock our time. So if you want to try to have a semblance of a normal work day where you're working like 10 to 6 or 9 to 6 or whatever, um, half your day is gone. So that's the biggest challenge is making sure that when you wake up in the middle of the night stressed out and you check your messages, or you get there in the morning and you're able to respond to all the concerns that they're doing. And so the Jira, we use Jira, which is management, asset management, and I don't know, task management. Cody would know better,
Mhm.
describe task management.
Risk management. Yep.
But we're all on Teams, but getting the Jira Cloud plugin for Teams was a lifesaver because it just blinks and I know somebody's talking about me or whatever, and you can kind of go in and see what they were. Hey, we need your feedback on this, or we need your answer on that. Sometimes I fall down and don't get them the feedback they need in a super timely manner, but sometimes I do, and so it's just all about communication and trying to keep those channels open and talk to them as often as is feasible.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, Gina, I know we had a couple questions come in from community people. Is there anything that
Yeah, we
wanted to?
did. Last week, we were chatting, and Moo had a question and said that they find it nice to sit in the bar and take in the game world in its present state. And said with so many components in the game, each scene is really brought to life by all these different artistic elements. There's a great sense of atmosphere and ambiance that you all have created with the music, with ambient effects. Tell us more about how those scenes come together.
It starts with the art and the story, and then for the ambient sound effects, a cow over in New Zealand, also kind of Australia adjacent,
Mm.
they're doing our sound effects, and I learned very quickly and was very happy to learn that I could kind of just leave them alone and trust them to deliver awesome stuff. So they're one of those little independent buckets that I don't specifically have to worry about that much.
Mm.
And because 90% of the time, I'm not exaggerating, 90% of the time, the first thing they turn in is right. And it's like, okay, that sounds like what our cars should sound like, or that sounds like what this should sound like. They're very organic and very mindful of the feel of whatever environment they're doing the sound effects for. Um, so that's a big plus. And then for the music, we've got this dynamic music system that is layered. So at any given time, if we want just kind of a basic atmosphere, we'll have maybe just the strings layer of the piece that Alex or Chris put together. And then if we want to make it energetic, you put some percussion underneath it and some horns on top, and then you can stack it. But we're weaving those elements in and out. So even though we've got a limited amount of music, we can stretch it out and trigger what's appropriate for each environment. So if we need something to be suspenseful and mysterious in this one scene, we've got, we'll do a minor key string pad and just keep it tense,
Mm.
dissonant string pad or something. But then if we want that same thing, oh, suddenly you're in combat, then we'll put that percussion in it, or we'll put those brass horn section stabs or whatever. And it suddenly just turns that music into something else. So it was very much this dynamic music system's idea was, I think, Chris and Alex's idea, and then James over at Chaos Theory, they actually put it together and made it work. And so that's kind of how we do the audio side of that. And it was very much like we've got, when we were putting the music together, it was like we had moods and we had locations, and each piece of music is synced to either a mood, like suspenseful, funny, dangerous, sad, whatever. And then we've got some music that's kind of location specific. Like every time you go back to the hole, you're going to get this sort of like home
Mhm.
based music.
Yeah,
So
from
cool.
the art side too, I should just mention that anytime we got a brief to do anything, like there was loads of references. So like especially if it was tied to something historical, 1930s New York, we had like pictures to look at, we had, you know, descriptions. So I think a lot of bringing it to life, the game in general was the writers and Duane like kind of looking through, like basically being like, this is the inspiration, like utilize this inspiration and you use your artistic talent to make it in this fantasy world. So
Yeah.
sorry, Gina.
I was
Yeah,
curious,
go
what
ahead.
is, oh, no, no problem. I was curious, is there anything as you were going through like New York history and things like that, where maybe Tyler or someone on the team pitched an idea that was rooted in history, but in one of those, fact is stranger than fiction sort of moments, we ended up cutting it just for maybe being a
Oh.
bit too out there, fantastical. Were there any moments like that?
Uh, it's not that I could think of off the top of my head because kind of the weirder it was, the more we wanted to get it in the game. But like the
Even
one I
better.
keep coming
Yeah.
back to, it was did make it into the game was the White Street Sanitation Brigade, which is based on like the basically the New York trash garbage men used to be militarized way back in the day, effectively. It's like that's just the weirdest thing I've ever heard in my life. There's basically an Army Corps of garbage men in New York City. Okay, so I think the weirder it was, the more we wanted to find a way to cram it into the game.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, Something else we've talked about before is how it's everyone on the team's job to play test the game. So, how involved are you in that process of play testing, and what are you looking for when you play test the game?
Well, funny enough, right after this AMA, I have to hop into a 3 hour playtest. So twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, we've been doing 2 to 3 hour playtests. So I've been playtesting throughout the game, keeping an eye on everything. So keep an eye on dialogue, music, pacing, design, art, the whole shebang. And then apart from that, twice a week, I have an hour long combat playtest where we just focus on the car combat and just sort of does this combat story beat feel right or whatever. How are the mechanics here? What do the cars look like? Do the enemy cars look like enemy cars or do they look kind of like, you know, we got
Talk
we
about the
do have
Mike and
limited access.
Ikes.
Oh yeah, the Mike and Ike cars. So for the longest time, there was these cars paint job that would have, and the specific colors they chose because our cars have this curvy, kind of shiny 1930s thing, and there would be these green and yellow cars driving around, and I'm like, it's Mike and Ike. Why is Mike and Ike driving down our these candies driving down our highways and stuff? So yeah, I think we eventually, for the most part, got rid of the Mike and Ikes. But,
Yeah.
that was
And I've seen these calls happening in Discord and so on. So, of course, loads of opinions are going to come up. Somebody's going to love something, somebody's going to hate it. How do you work through those moments of, just creative disagreement?
fighting, fighting and yelling and getting stabby and
I'm sure. Yeah.
throwing things and having temper tantrums and hanging up and flipping the desk. But really, it's just we we argue the point until either rationality wins or you just wear the other person out or what have you. If you got really, really strong opinions about something, in the end, honestly, the final arbiter is kind of me, but I'm still answerable to some people higher up. So it's kind of like if the final decision is mine, I never want to, but I very rarely will say because I said so. So it's you just listen to what everybody's saying and okay, why do you think this is a bad idea? Why do you think this is a good idea? And you really have to balance it out. And sometimes, a lot of times in the end, it's just like, well, what can we do versus what do we want to do? They're because
Mhm.
those two very often aren't the same thing. Or what can we realistically do? But yeah, it's really about you know who's going to convince me that their idea is best,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes, many times, somebody's got a better idea than I've got, and so they win. You know, and that's great because in the end we're serving the game. We have to serve the game.
Mhm.
Because if we go about, oh, it's my idea and I want this or whatever, then you just fail. That's a recipe for disaster right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were talking about the Mike and Ike cars, and I was just thinking about how we're like very nearing, content complete, and we're in a polishing phase right now. Like, what are some of the things that you've been having to look at with the testing? I guess more like behind the scenes sort of stuff. Like, what's crazy stuff that's happening that we're like polishing up right now? Like, especially with something like VO, like it's so easy to have a VO line swapped in a spot that's not supposed to be there, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's probably actually you just hit the nail on the head with kind of the biggest thing right now is because we're kind of rushing towards the finish line and it's like what priority does VO have over rewrites?
Hmm.
And so like if we have script lock and then suddenly we realize we're testing and it's like, oh wait, that line doesn't make any sense, or this story beat is broken or something like that. It's very hard to go back and re-record the VO because you have to
Hmm.
book the actor, you have to book the studio. It's like we have one missing line or one line that's wrong, and you've got to get these people to get back in the studio and pay for studio time just to get one line. So we have to really be cognizant of that balance. It's like, is it, and that's one of the things, is it realistic? Like we do have, well, how broken is this line? Is it worth doing that or do we let it go? But yeah, it's until we have the entire game back to front with all the VO in place, because VO also we record it, but then it's got to get edited, it's got to get delivered, it's got to get implemented. So sometimes it'll be a couple of weeks between when we record it and when it's actually plugged in,
Mm,
and then you got to play it before you know if it's landing. Because until you can have all the
yeah.
ideas you want, if anything I've learned through the decades I've been doing this is you don't know it's going to work until you actually see it, until you actually play it. You don't know if it's going to be fun. It's all theoretical until you actually experience it. And so you can be like, it's the coolest line of dialogue in the world, and you won't know until it's in.
Yeah. I think because you're playing a video game, there's so much that can happen with the player's input and like the a decision the player might make or where they might move a car or whatever, that there's so many variables in game development, whereas like making a movie is definitely hard, but you're also making a product that is 2 hours in length compared to a video game like ours, which is dozens of hours potentially of
Yeah.
gameplay time, that you're having to make sure everything is completely cohesive, not only functions properly, but like you're saying, story wise makes sense as well. It's like
Yeah.
kind of crazy to think about.
It's harder. I think it's harder than making movies, and it's because it's also all these variables, and everybody plays differently, have different play styles, and
Hmm.
they have like somebody who puts all their stats into muscle is going to have a different play experience than somebody who puts all their stats into Brainiac or whatever. So you're
Hmm.
kind of like, um, you got to make sure all those experiences are fun, and
Yep.
you also like some players will and this pains me, but some players will just click through the dialogue as fast as they can, so they never even experience it because it's like hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. And then other people want to sit back and soak it in and will take a lot longer. But yeah, it's this game, the scope of this game has certainly exceeded all of our expectations. We'll put it that way. It's a bigger game than any of us expected.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are there
Yeah. Go
any,
ahead.
oh, I was just going to say, were there any decisions during development that you might have been apprehensive about that maybe in hindsight, uh, you made the right call or the team made the right call?
um yeah, uh we didn't have fail states for the longest time. And because again, we were developing this game at one point as a roguelike, and then it was all these other things, but fail states were gone for a long time. You could fail in combat, but then you would just restart the combat. But at one point, it was just like, look, man, let's put some stakes into this thing. And if you make a couple of bad decisions in conjunction with a couple of bad dice rolls in a row, and not bad decisions, but you decide to play risky. I'm
Mm,
going to take the risky decision. I'm going to go with the hard, or I'm going to do the hard dice roll, and I'm going to do the hard dice roll again. You can die. And that wasn't in the game for the longest time. And now there are certain points. It's just we went back in the story and kind of looked at what points during this journey would it be logical that one of the outcomes would be that you die. And we're like, okay, write it. And we
Like it
plugged
ends
it
the
in.
game kind of thing.
Well, I mean, you can start from a checkpoint
Got it.
previous. You
Got
don't
it.
have
Got
to
it.
start from
Oh, I see.
scratch. But yeah,
Yeah, I didn't
it's
even know this existed, honestly.
yeah, no, you could you die and then you start back to the next previous point closest to when those decisions
I
that
see.
decision branch would start, where it
Cool.
could lead to you dying. We don't want to get you in an endless loop where you spawn back right where
Yeah.
before you died. But yeah, so it just adds some risk, and I think it really does help the game quite a bit.
Yeah, I think a place you might run into that in the demo as it exists now is the parade scene,
Yeah,
where Gia has the opportunity to stay or run away, and the game kind of is telling you if you run away, this could be bad for you.
yeah,
And
it's,
I kind of like that sort of. Um, you get the opportunity to sort of see what's going on. Gia remarks about other people who are running away and that
they
they're
shot
being
at it.
shot. Yeah,
Yes.
and so you can make that choice, but it might go
Yeah,
wrong.
and it's a very dangerous world we're building. It's a very dark place in all reality. So I didn't want us to go through this entire journey through this dark and dangerous world when there was no real stakes. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense. Awesome. Well, I think we're kind of wrapping up on the hour. Dwayne, was there anything else you wanted to talk about that, um, specifically with your role or anything that's been
I mean,
particular?
I
Yeah.
would want to acknowledge the hard work that everybody else does. 'Cause I do mean it when my role is more just sort of traffic cop of all these other great ideas that come in, and so it's very much like you come to work every morning and it's like Christmas. It's like, what did the artists do? What did the writers do? What did the music do? With the VO, and you get to play the game. You get to see what all these creative people have made, and um, so you get like it gives you a really warm feeling because it is all cohesive and it does feel of a piece, which for a long time it was a little bit scattered
Mm.
and stuff. And so when it all is coalescing, and it's very very cool to see the hard work of everybody paying off, and that we're so close to having this game ready to go out in the world and
Yeah.
hopefully be loved and accepted and cherished by many many people.
Yeah, for
So
sure. Awesome. Cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you for everyone that has joined. And if you're checking this out on YouTube, just a reminder that you are welcome to hop in the Discord with us and ask us questions live while we do these every Wednesday. But yeah, thanks, Dwayne, for hanging out with us and talking about your awesome experience. And thank you, Cody and Gina, as well. And yeah, we'll see everyone next time.
all right,
Thanks for
bye.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, everyone.